Ex sent me a mocking wedding invite to show off his rich fiancé. I RSVP'd with a special guest and left him bankrupt and crying at the altar. Hello everyone. Thank you for being here with me today. Before I begin my story, grab a warm cup of tea and get comfortable. I'd love to know what time of day you're watching this video. Please comment M for morning, A for afternoon, or E for evening. Now, let me take you into this story. I was sitting at my kitchen island, nursing a glass of Pinot Grigio after a particularly grueling week at the firm, when I saw it. Amidst the usual stack of bills, junk mail, and flyers for gutter cleaning services, there was a heavy, cream-colored envelope. It looked expensive. The calligraphy on the front was so ornate it was almost illegible, but I recognized the return address immediately. It was an address I used to know by heart, an address I had fled from 2 months ago with nothing but my clothes and my sanity. It was from Travis. My hands actually started shaking as I reached for it. Not out of love, and certainly not out of longing. It was a visceral physical reaction, like my body was remembering the stress and the emotional exhaustion before my brain could even catch up. I slid a knife under the wax seal. Yes, he actually used a wax seal, which was hilarious considering the man couldn't even afford to pay his own electric bill 8 weeks ago, and pulled out the card. It was a wedding invitation. Travis Miller and Kylie Sterling request the honor of your presence. I felt a cold laugh bubble up in my throat. We had been broken up for barely 2 months, and he was already getting married? I knew he had moved on quickly, I knew he had found someone else to leech off of, but marriage? This fast? It reeked of desperation. But then, I flipped the card over. And that's when the laughter stopped. That's when the cold, hard rage settled into the pit of my stomach. There, in Travis's chicken scratch handwriting, the only part of this expensive stationery that looked authentic to who he really was a note. He had written, "Valerie, I want you to attend my wedding so you can finally see the grand life I'm going to have with Kylie. It's the kind of life a man of my potential deserves, and the kind of life you were too cheap and too limited to ever give me. Come and see what you missed out on." I stared at those words until they blurred. Too cheap. Too limited. The audacity was breathtaking. It was almost impressive in its absolute delusion. This was the man whose student loans I had paid down. This was the man who lived under my roof for years while contributing less than a teenager with a paper route. This was the man who called me controlling when I asked him to take out the trash, yet here he was, inviting me to his wedding just to rub his new wealth in my face. He didn't want me there as a friend. He didn't want closure. He wanted an audience. He wanted to humiliate me. He wanted to show me that he had won by landing a rich girl, proving that I was the problem all along. I put the glass of wine down, hard. The old Valerie, the one who spent 8 years trying to fix him, trying to be the cool girl, might have cried. She might have torn the invitation up and thrown it in the trash, then spent the night sobbing into her pillow, wondering why she wasn't enough. But I wasn't that Valerie anymore. The silence in my clean, peaceful house, a house I bought with my own money, a house that no longer smelled like his stale beer and gym socks, gave me clarity. He wanted a show? He wanted to prove a point? Okay, Travis, I whispered to the empty room, a dangerous smile spreading across my face. You want me to come see your grand life? I'll be there. I grabbed my phone. I wasn't going to go alone. Oh no. If he wanted to play games, if he wanted to bring drama into my life one last time, I was going to finish it. I unlocked my screen and opened social media. I had some digging to do. I needed a +1. And not just any +1. I needed a guest who would turn his grand life into a total nightmare. Before I tell you exactly who I brought and how the wedding ended with the groom crying on the floor, and trust me, it is a sight I will cherish forever, I need to back up. To understand why this revenge was so sweet, you have to understand the 8 years of hell I went through. You have to understand how a smart, independent financial analyst like me got trapped by a man like Travis. And by the way, before I dive in, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and listening to my story. It means the world to me to have this space to vent. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let's go back to where it all started. 8 years ago, I was 22, fresh out of college, and working part-time at Starbucks while hunting for a corporate job. That's where I met Travis. He was 30 at the time, 8 years older than me, but he had this boyish charm that made him seem younger, more vulnerable. He was a regular customer, always ordering a simple black coffee and sitting in the corner with a notebook, looking brooding and intense. At 22, I mistook brooding for deep. I mistook unemployed and aimless for a misunderstood artist. We started talking during the slow shifts. He was charming, funny, and incredibly attentive. He told me he was in between opportunities, exploring his options in sales, but what really hooked me was his backstory. On our third date, which was just a walk in the park because he didn't believe in the commercialization of romance, aka he was broke, he opened up about his family. He told me his parents were drowning in gambling debt. He painted a tragic picture of his childhood, how he had to sacrifice his own college fund to bail them out, how he was currently paying off their loans, and how that burden was the only reason he wasn't successful yet. "I just want to be a good son," he had said, looking at me with those big, sad puppy dog eyes. "I can't abandon them, Valerie. Even if it means I have nothing for myself." My heart just melted. I was young, naive, and I had this savior complex that was about a mile wide. I thought, wow, here is a man who is responsible, loyal, and self-sacrificing. I didn't see a red flag, I saw a project. I saw someone who just needed a lucky break, someone who needed a strong partner to help him stand up. I came from a broken home myself. My parents divorced when I was young, and my dad was never really in the picture. I think, subconsciously, I was looking for a man I could fix, proving that if I loved someone enough, they wouldn't leave me. Travis fit that mold perfectly. Within a month, we were inseparable. But looking back, the dynamic was skewed from day one. Because he was so burdened by his parents' debts, I naturally picked up the tab for everything. "I forgot my wallet," he'd say with a sheepish grin when the bill came at the diner. Or, "Babe, can you get the movie tickets? My paycheck hasn't cleared yet, the bank is messing up again." And I did. Every single time. I paid for our dinners, our movie tickets, even his gas money sometimes. I was working double shifts, standing on my feet for 10 hours a day, saving every penny to move out of my mom's house, and yet I was funneling a chunk of my meager earnings into him. I remember one specific incident about 3 months in. My best friend, Sarah, came to visit me at the coffee shop. She saw Travis sitting in his usual corner. "That guy has been here for 4 hours, Val," Sarah whispered as I wiped down the counter. "Does he work? Does he do anything?" "He's looking for jobs," I defended him instantly. "And he's dealing with a lot of family stuff. His parents owe a fortune to some loan sharks or something." Sarah narrowed her eyes. She's always been the skeptical one, the one with the radar for nonsense. "Has he shown you proof of this debt? Or is he just telling you a sob story to get free lattes?" "He's not using me, Sarah," I snapped, feeling protective. "He buys me things. Sometimes." "Like what?" I struggled to think of an example. "He wrote me a poem last week." Sarah just looked at me, that pitying look that friends give you when they know you're driving a car without brakes toward a cliff. "Valerie, just be careful. A 30-year-old man who lets a 22-year-old student buy his lunch every day isn't a victim. He's a leech." I should have listened to her. God, I wish I had listened to her. But I was stubborn. I wanted to prove her wrong. I wanted to prove that Travis was just a diamond in the rough. So, I ignored the fact that he always ordered the most expensive item on the menu when I was paying. I ignored the fact that his job interviews never seemed to result in a job. I focused on how he held my hand and told me I was the only person who truly understood his complicated soul. 2 years went by like that. I graduated, landed a junior analyst position at a mid-sized firm, and finally saved enough to move out of my mom's place. I was ready to start my real life. And of course, Travis was right there, ready to hitch his wagon to my rising star. The day I got the keys to my first apartment, I was over the moon. It wasn't huge, a 2-bedroom unit in a decent complex, but it was mine. I had worked so hard for it, analyzing every dollar of my salary, budgeting for rent, utilities, and a small emergency fund. Travis, on the other hand, was still living in his parents' basement. He was still struggling. He had finally landed a job as a sales rep for a construction supply company, but he constantly complained about the commission structure and how his boss had it out for him. "I can't take it anymore, Val," he sighed, sitting on a moving box in my new living room. "My mom is driving me crazy. She's always hovering. And the house, it's just so depressing with their financial issues looming over everything. I feel like I'm suffocating." He looked around my apartment, his eyes gleaming with something that I mistook for admiration but now realized was opportunism. "This place is amazing. You're so lucky." "It's not luck, Travis," I said gently. "I worked really hard for this." I know, he said quickly, grabbing my hands. I wish I could be here with you. Waking up next to you every day. Escaping that hellhole of a basement. But with my student loans and the money I'm still sending my parents, I just can't afford a place like this on my own." And there it was. The bait. He dangled the carrot of intimacy, of us taking the next step, while simultaneously pleading poverty. "Why don't you move in?" I heard myself say. It felt like the natural progression. We had been together for 2 years. "We can split the costs. It'll be cheaper for you than getting your own place, and it'll help me save a bit more too." His face lit up like a Christmas tree. "Are you serious?" "Val, that would save my life." Literally. But then came the negotiation. Or rather, the manipulation. We sat down to discuss the finances. I had my spreadsheets out, ready to calculate a fair 50-50 split. "So, the rent is $1,800 a month," I said. "Split down the middle, that's $900 each. Plus utilities." Travis's face fell. He slumped back in the chair, rubbing his temples theatrically. 900? "Val, babe, you know I don't bring home what you do. Your corporate salary is steady. My commission is all over the place. And I have those loan payments." "Okay," I said, trying to be understanding. "What can you afford?" He did some mental math, looking pained. "Honestly? If I want to keep helping my parents and make a dent in my debt, I could maybe do $400. Maybe. $400. That was barely 20% of the rent." "Travis, that's really low," I frowned. "That means I'd be covering almost everything." "It's just for a little while," he pleaded, reaching across the table to stroke my arm. "Just until I get on my feet. Just until I get a few big sales. You're my partner, Val. In a partnership, we support each other, right? You make more money, so it's fair that you pay a bit more right now. When I make it big, I'll spoil you. I promise." Support. Fairness. He used those words like weapons. He made me feel like asking for an equal contribution was act of greed, an act of unlove. If I loved him, I shouldn't care about the money. So, I agreed. I agreed to pay nearly 80% of the rent while he paid a pittance. We split the utilities evenly, but even then, I often found myself covering the internet bill because he forgot to transfer the money. For the first few months, I told myself it was fine. I told myself I was being a modern, independent woman who could support her partner. But the dynamic shifted immediately. Because he wasn't really paying for the space, he didn't respect the space. He moved his things in and suddenly, my clean, organized sanctuary was filled with clutter. His video game console took over the living room TV. His work papers were strewn across the dining table that I needed for my own evening work. And the money issue? It never got better. In fact, it got worse. He stopped mentioning his parents' debt, but he suddenly had money for new sneakers, for the latest video games, for nights out with his buddies. I thought you were broke. I asked one night when he came home with a $200 limited edition gaming headset. I needed this for stress relief, Val, he snapped, defensive instantly. I work hard. Do you want me to be miserable? God, you sound just like my mother. Why are you always watching my pockets? I paid my share of the rent, didn't I? His share. The $400 that barely covered his presence in the house. I swallowed my anger. I didn't want to be the nagging girlfriend. I didn't want to be like his mother. But deep down, a seed of resentment was planted. I wasn't his partner. I was his landlord, his banker, and as I was about to find out, his maid. The financial inequality was bad enough, but the domestic situation was where the real nightmare began. You would think, logically, that if one partner is paying 80% of the bills, the other partner might try to make up for it in other ways. Like, say, keeping the house clean? Cooking dinner? Doing the laundry? Not Travis. Travis had a job that required him to drive around to construction sites. He claimed this was physically exhausting labor, even though he was a sales rep, not a bricklayer. He spent most of his time in his air-conditioned car or standing around holding a clipboard. Meanwhile, I had a corporate job. I worked in an office. In Travis's mind, sitting at a desk all day meant I did nothing. You sit in a comfortable chair and type numbers, Val, he would say when I asked him to help with the dishes. I'm out there in the elements. I'm on my feet. When I come home, I need to rest. My body hurts. So, the division of labor became just as lopsided as the rent. I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee for both of us, packed his lunch, because he couldn't afford to buy lunch, remember, went to work, managed millions of dollars in client assets, dealt with high-stress meetings, drove home, went grocery shopping, cooked dinner, and cleaned up the kitchen. Travis came home, threw his socks on the floor, cracked open a beer, and sat in front of the TV to play Call of Duty until 1 a.m. I tried to assign him one chore. Just one. Travis, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I need help. I can do the cooking and the cleaning, but can you just be responsible for the trash? You're the last one up at night. Just take the bag out to the dumpster. Fine, he grunted, eyes glued to the screen. It's easy. I got it. He did not got it. Every single morning, I would walk into the kitchen to make coffee and be greeted by the smell of rotting food. The trash can would be overflowing, the lid unable to close. He would pile garbage on top of garbage in a precarious tower rather than take the bag out. Travis! I'd yell. I forgot. I was tired. I'll do it later, he'd shout from the bedroom. But later never came. I would end up taking it out myself because I couldn't stand the smell or the ants. And then there was Brenda. Brenda was Travis's mother. And if you want to know why Travis was a man-child, you only had to look at Brenda. She came over unannounced at least twice a week, using the spare key Travis gave her without asking me. She was a small woman with hair sprayed into a helmet of curls and a permanent look of disapproval etched onto her face. She worshipped Travis. To her, he was a prince who had been wronged by the world. She would walk into my apartment, the apartment I paid for, and immediately start critiquing. Oh, Valerie, she'd say, running a finger over the bookshelf. It's a bit dusty in here, isn't it? I know you prioritize your career, but a woman really should keep a cleaner home. A man needs a peaceful environment to recharge. I remember gripping the handle of the vacuum cleaner so hard my knuckles turned white. I work 50 hours a week, Brenda. Travis lives here too. He can dust. Brenda would gasp, clutching her pearls. Literally, she wore fake pearls everywhere. Travis? Dust? Oh, honey, no. Men aren't built for that kind of detail work. Their minds are on bigger things. Providing. Protecting. Providing what? I wanted to scream. He pays $400 a month. But I bit my tongue. I smiled that tight, fake smile that women are taught to wear. He's tired from work, Brenda. Exactly, she'd nod, satisfied. My poor baby works so hard. You know, when his father came home, I always had a hot meal on the table and his slippers waiting. That's the secret to a happy marriage, Valerie. You can't expect a man to respect you if you don't serve him. Serve him. She was poisoning his mind, reinforcing his entitlement every single day. She treated him like a toddler, bringing him Tupperware containers of his favorite mac and cheese because she didn't think I made it creamy enough. Travis ate it up. He loved having two women catering to his every need. One paid his bills, the other stroked his ego. He was living the dream. I, on the other hand, was slowly dying inside. I was exhausted. I was resentful. But I kept thinking, if I just do a little more, if I just try harder, he'll appreciate it. He'll see how good I am to him and he'll step up. It's funny how we tell ourselves these lies to avoid facing the truth, that we are being used. But the breaking point was coming. It wasn't a slow fade, it was a crash. And it happened over a long weekend in October. It was a Friday morning when I left for a mandatory corporate retreat. It was only for 2 days. I prepared everything before I left. I filled the fridge with groceries so Travis wouldn't have to spend money on takeout. I did all the laundry. I scrubbed the bathroom. The apartment was spotless. Okay, I told Travis as I stood at the door with my suitcase. I'll be back Sunday evening. There's lasagna in the fridge. Please, just try to keep the place tidy? And take out the trash. Yeah, babe. Have fun. Don't worry about anything, he said, barely looking up from his phone. He was already texting his buddies. I knew what that meant. A boys' weekend. I spent the weekend in seminars and networking events, worrying the whole time. When Sunday rolled around, I was exhausted. The drive back was 3 hours in pouring rain. All I wanted was to come home, take a hot shower, and relax in my clean apartment. I unlocked the front door at 7 p.m. The smell hit me first. It was a mixture of stale beer, old pizza grease, and something sour. I dropped my bag in the hallway and walked into the living room. I actually stopped breathing for a second. It looked like a frat house had exploded in my living room. There were empty beer cans everywhere, on the coffee table, on the floor, stuffed between the couch cushions. Pizza boxes were stacked on the rug, some open with half-eaten, dried-up crusts still inside. There were chocolate wrappers, chip bags, and takeout containers from places I didn't even know existed scattered across every surface. My white rug, my expensive, beautiful white rug that I had saved up for, had a giant, dark stain on it. It looked like red wine or grape soda. Travis? I called out, my voice trembling. No answer. I walked into the kitchen. It was worse. Every single dish we owned was dirty. They were piled in the sink, spilling over onto the counter. Pots and pans were crusted with burnt food. And the trash? The trash can was overflowing so badly that garbage had spilled onto the floor. Ant trails were already forming, marching happily toward a sticky puddle of soda near the fridge. I felt tears pricking my eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of pure, unadulterated rage. I had been gone for 48 hours. How does one human being create this much chaos in 48 hours? I marched to the bedroom. The door was open. Travis was lying on the bed, on top of the covers, thank God, but still wearing his street clothes and shoes. His muddy shoes were on my clean duvet. He was watching a football game, cheering loudly. Yes! Go! Run, he screamed at the TV. I stood in the doorway, my hands clenched into fists. Travis. He didn't hear me. Travis! I screamed. He jumped, startled, and looked over at me. Whoa! Jesus, Val. You scared me. When did you get home? Look around you, I said, my voice shaking. Just look. He glanced around the room, confused. What? Oh, hey, welcome back. Did you have a good trip? He didn't even see it. He literally didn't see the filth. Or worse, he saw it and didn't care because he knew I would fix it. The house is a disaster, I hissed. The kitchen. The living room. My rug. Travis, you promised. He rolled his eyes and turned back to the TV. Relax, babe. The guys came over to watch the game yesterday. We had a little fun. Don't be such a buzzkill. I was gonna clean it up later. Later? When is later? The ants are already in the kitchen. I'm watching the game, he snapped, his voice rising. I've had a long week too, okay? I deserve to relax in my own home without you nagging me the second you walk in the door. Just chill out. Come give me a hug. He held out his arms like he expected me to just crawl into bed with him, amidst the filth, and cuddle. Something inside me snapped. It was like a physical cord severing in my chest. I looked at him, this 30-something man lying in a mess of his own making, demanding affection while treating me like a servant, and the love I had been clinging to just evaporated. I am not giving you a hug, I said, my voice deadly quiet. And I am not cleaning this up. Fine, he grunted, grabbing the remote. Be miserable. I'll do it during halftime. He didn't do it during halftime. He didn't do it after the game. He fell asleep. I stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by trash. I was so tired. I wanted to leave the mess to prove a point, but I knew I couldn't sleep in a house that smelled like this. I couldn't live like an animal just to teach him a lesson he refused to learn. So, I cleaned. I spent 3 hours, from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m., scrubbing his mess. I bagged up the beer cans. I scrubbed the stain on the rug. I washed the mountain of dishes. I took out 4 bags of trash. I cried the entire time. I cried because I was tired, yes. But mostly, I cried because I realized how little he thought of me. He didn't respect my time. He didn't respect my home. He didn't respect me. I wasn't his partner, I was his safety net. I was the person who made the unpleasant things go away so he could play. When I finally crawled into bed that night, my body aching, Travis was snoring loudly. I looked at his back, and for the first time in 8 years, I felt absolutely nothing but disgust. But the real explosion? That happened the next morning. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the smell of bleach still lingering on my hands. When the alarm went off at 6 a.m., I got up like a zombie. I went to the kitchen. The trash can was empty because I had emptied it. The sink was shining because I had scrubbed it. It was like the disaster of the previous night never happened. And that was the problem. Travis would wake up to a clean house, and he would think, see? It wasn't a big deal. She handled it. It's magic. Travis stumbled into the kitchen at 7 a.m., scratching his stomach, looking for coffee. Morning, he mumbled, reaching for a mug. He looked around the sparkling kitchen. See? Place looks great. I told you were overreacting last night. My hand froze on the coffee pot. I turned slowly to face him. I didn't overreact, I said, my voice tight. I spent 3 hours cleaning up your mess while you slept. Well, nobody asked you to do that, he scoffed, pouring coffee. I said I'd do it later. You just couldn't wait because you're obsessed with control. You have OCD or something. You wouldn't have done it, Travis. You never do it. The trash was literally overflowing with maggots starting to form. Oh, stop being so dramatic, he waved a hand at me dismissively. God, you're in a mood. Make me some eggs, will you? I have a big meeting today. Make me some eggs. He said it so casually. Like it was my duty. No, I said. He stopped, mug halfway to his mouth. What? No. I'm not making you eggs. If you want to eat, cook for yourself. His brow furrowed. But you always make breakfast. I don't have time to cook. Then go hungry. Or grab a granola bar. I don't care. Wow, he laughed, a cold, mocking sound. You are being incredibly rude. Is this about the trash again? Get over it, Valerie. It's about everything, Travis. It's about the fact that I pay 80% of the rent. I pay the bills. I do the laundry. I cook. I clean. And you do nothing. You come home, drink beer, and make messes. What do you actually bring to this relationship? He slammed his mug down on the counter. Coffee splashed over the rim. I bring myself, he yelled. I work hard all day. I'm tired. I deserve a home where I can relax. You know, my dad never had to deal with this. My mom worked part-time, took care of the house, raised me, and she never complained once. She made his breakfast every single day with a smile. There it was. The comparison. Your mom, I repeated, feeling the blood pounding in my ears. Your mom enabled your dad to be a useless man-child, and now she's taught you to be the same. Don't you dare talk about my mother, he pointed a finger in my face. She's a saint. She understands that a woman's role is to support her man. If you want to be a boss babe with your corporate job, fine. But don't bring that attitude home. In this house, you need to help me out. You need to be soft. You need to be nurturing. I am not your mother. I screamed, finally letting it all out. And we are equals. Actually, we aren't equals. I am carrying you. I am subsidizing your life. I never asked you to pay the rent, he shouted back. You offered. You wanted to move here. I was fine in the basement. You were miserable in the basement. You begged me. Whatever, he sneered. You're throwing money in my face again. That's all you care about. You're cold, Valerie. You're unfeeling. You think because you earn more, you're better than me? Men don't want a woman who acts like a bank manager. We want a housewife. We want peace. I looked at him, red-faced, entitled, standing in the kitchen I paid for, drinking the coffee I bought. You want a housewife? I asked, my voice suddenly deadly calm. Then you better find a way to pay for one. Because I am done. What does that mean? He asked, narrowing his eyes. It means from this second forward, I am not lifting a finger for you. I am not cooking your food. I am not washing your clothes. I am not ironing your shirts. And the rent? Next month, it's 50-50. Or you can get out. He laughed. He actually laughed. Yeah, right. You won't do that. You love me too much. Try me, I said. I grabbed my purse and walked out the door, leaving him standing there with his coffee. He thought I was bluffing. He thought I would cool down, feel guilty, and go back to being his doormat by evening. He had no idea that he had just broken the last thread of patience I had. The Valerie who paid for everything was dead. The new Valerie was about to make his life very, very difficult. I kept my word. For the first time in my life, I set a boundary and I reinforced it with steel. That evening, I came home and cooked dinner. I made a single serving of pasta carbonara. It smelled delicious. Travis was sitting on the couch, waiting. When I sat down with my bowl and didn't put a plate in front of him, he looked confused. "Where's mine?" he asked. "In the pantry," I said, taking a bite. "There's a box of pasta and a jar of sauce. You know how to boil water." He stared at me, shocked. "You're serious? You're actually going to eat in front of me while I starve? You're a 30-year-old man, Travis. You won't starve." He huffed, stormed into the kitchen, and made himself a peanut butter sandwich, slamming cabinet doors the whole time to let me know he was angry. I didn't react. I finished my meal, washed my single bowl and fork, and went to read a book. The next morning was even better. Usually, I ironed his work shirts for the week on Sunday nights. I hadn't done it this time. I heard him cursing in the bedroom. "Where are my shirts? Val. None of these are ironed." "I know," I called out from the bathroom where I was doing my makeup. "The iron is in the closet." He appeared in the doorway, holding a wrinkled blue shirt, looking like a lost child. "I don't know how to iron." "I'll burn it." "Google it," I said, applying mascara. He ended up wearing the wrinkled shirt to work. He looked disheveled. I felt a pang of guilt, that old conditioning trying to creep back in, but I shoved it down. He is an adult, I repeated to myself. He is an adult. This went on for weeks. The house became a battleground of passive aggression. Travis refused to clean anything, hoping I would crack. I simply cleaned only my messes. I kept my toiletries in a caddy that I tipped to the bedroom so he couldn't use my expensive shampoo. I bought takeout and ate it in my car so I wouldn't dirty dishes. His laundry piled up in a corner of the bedroom until it turned into a mountain of stink. Eventually, he ran out of underwear. I watched with grim satisfaction as he tried to figure out the washing machine, dumping half a bottle of detergent in for one load. Then came the first of the month. Rent day. I transferred exactly 50% of the rent to our landlord's portal. I texted Travis, "My half is paid. The portal closes at midnight." He called me immediately. "Val, are you crazy? I don't have $900, he screamed. "I told you, sales were slow this month." "That's not my problem," I said calmly. "We are equals, remember? Equals pay equal shares. You're doing this to punish me. You're being abusive." "I'm being fair. If you can't pay, maybe you should ask your mom." I hung up. He didn't speak to me for 3 days. But on the 2nd of the month, the rent was paid in full. I saw the notification. I knew exactly where he got the money. Brenda. Brenda came over that weekend. She didn't even say hello to me. She marched straight to Travis, who was sulking on the couch in a wrinkled t-shirt. She glared at me as I walked through the living room. "I can't believe you treat him like this," she hissed at me. "After everything he's done for you. Making him pay rent when he's struggling? Refusing to feed him? It's unnatural." "He's 30, Brenda," I said, not breaking stride. "He can feed himself." "You're pushing him away," she warned, wagging a finger. "A man has needs. If he doesn't get warmth and support at home, he'll find it somewhere else. Mark my words. At the time, I thought she was just trying to scare me. I thought she was just being her usual toxic self. I didn't realize she was actually giving me a spoiler for the season finale of my relationship. Because she was right. Travis was looking elsewhere. He stopped arguing with me. That was the first sign. He stopped complaining about the cooking or the laundry. He started doing his own laundry, badly, but he did it. He paid his half of the rent the next month without a fight. I thought, wow, it's working. Tough love is working. He's finally growing up. I was so stupid. He wasn't growing up. He was checking out. He started coming home later. Networking events, he claimed. Client dinners. He was glued to his phone, smiling at screens in a way he hadn't smiled at me in years. He started caring about his appearance again, buying new cologne, actually ironing his shirts, or maybe getting Brenda to do it. I was so busy with my own career, I was up for a major promotion to senior analyst, that I didn't pay enough attention. I was just relieved the fighting had stopped. We were like roommates who barely tolerated each other. Then, 6 months into this Cold War, I got the promotion. A huge raise. A corner office. It was everything I had worked for. I came home, excited to share the news. Despite everything, he was still my boyfriend. I wanted to celebrate. Travis. I called out. I got it. Senior analyst. He looked up from his phone. There was no joy in his eyes. Only a cold, jealous flicker. Cool, he said flatly. So, you're making even more money now? Yes. It's a significant bump. Must be nice, he muttered, turning back to his screen. Meanwhile, regular people are out here struggling. That night, he went out to celebrate with the boys and didn't come home until 3 a.m. He smelled like cheap perfume and expensive whiskey. That was the beginning of the end. But I didn't know about her yet. I didn't know about Kylie. Not until the night he came home and shattered whatever was left of my heart, not with sadness, but with the brutal truth of who he really was. The dynamic in the house shifted from hostile to icy. After my promotion, Travis became unbearable in a new way. He wasn't just lazy, he was vindictive. He would make snide comments about my fancy job and my corporate greed. You think you're so smart because you wear a suit, he'd sneer when I talked about a successful client meeting. But you're just a cog in the machine, Valerie. You have no soul. It was projection, pure and simple. He was insecure. He was failing at sales, barely making quota, while I was soaring. His ego couldn't handle a woman earning double his salary. But while he was putting me down, he was lifting someone else up. I started noticing the signs. They were classic clichés, really. The phone always face down on the table. The sudden need for privacy when taking calls. The mysterious overtime on weekends. And the receipts. I found a receipt in his jeans pocket when I was moving his laundry pile. I wasn't washing it, just moving it off the floor. It was for a jewelry store. Pandora. A charm bracelet. I didn't own a charm bracelet. My heart hammered in my chest. Who is this for? I confronted him that night. Travis, what is this? I held up the crumpled receipt. He didn't even flinch. He looked me dead in the eye and lied. It's for my mom. Her birthday is coming up. You know she loves that stuff. It was a plausible lie. Brenda did love tacky jewelry. And her birthday was next month. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that despite our issues, he wasn't cheating. Because cheating seemed like too much effort for him. Cheating required energy. Okay, I said, lowering the paper. That was nice of you. You always think the worst of me, he shook his head, playing the victim perfectly. I buy a gift for my mother and you interrogate me. You're paranoid, Val. He gaslit me so smoothly I almost apologized. 2 weeks later, on a Tuesday night, everything exploded. Travis came home early, which was rare. But he wasn't alone. He was drunk. Stumbling, slurring his words drunk. He crashed through the front door at 9 p.m., singing loudly. I was on the couch, working on a laptop. Travis? You're wasted. I am celebrating, he announced, throwing his arms wide and nearly knocking over a lamp. Celebrating life. Celebrating freedom. He collapsed onto the armchair opposite me. He looked at me, his eyes unfocused and swimming with booze. Then, his expression changed. It went from goofy to cruel. You know, he pointed a shaky finger at me. You think you're so special. With your promotion. And your rules. And your 50-50 rent. Go to sleep, Travis, I said, closing my laptop. We'll talk when you're sober. No. I want to talk now, he slammed his hand on the armrest. I want to tell you about a real woman. A woman who doesn't treat me like a tenant. A woman who respects me. My stomach dropped. I froze. What are you talking about? Kylie, he breathed the name like a prayer. Kylie. She's amazing. She's 24. Young. Fresh. Not hardened like you. And she's rich, Val. Like, real rich. Her daddy owns half the city. He was confessing. He was too drunk to keep his own secret. You're seeing someone? I asked, my voice trembling. Seeing her? I'm gonna marry her, he laughed wildly. She loves me. She thinks I'm a genius. She doesn't ask me to take out the trash. She has maids for that. Real maids. Not a girlfriend who acts like a martyr. He leaned forward, his face twisted in a sneer. She makes me feel like a king. You make me feel like a loser. But guess what? I'm not the loser. You are. Because I found a bigger fish. A prettier fish. I sat there, stunned silence filling the room. The pain hit me, sharp and sudden, but it was quickly replaced by a cold wave of realization. He had been using me. And now that he found a better host, a richer host, he was discarding me. So, I said, standing up. You're cheating on me. It's not cheating, he slurred, waving a hand. It's upgrading. I deserve this, Val. I've suffered enough with your penny pinching. Get out, I said. What? Get out. Now. This is my house too, he yelled. You haven't paid rent for this month yet, I reminded him. And you just admitted to adultery. Get out, Travis. Go to Kylie. Go to her daddy's mansion. But you are not sleeping here tonight. He stood up, swaying. Fine. I will. She wants me there anyway. She begs me to stay over. I only came back here to get my lucky tie. He stumbled to the bedroom, grabbed a handful of clothes, and stuffed them into a gym bag. He came back out, looked at me one last time, and spat on my floor. Literally spat on the floor. You'll regret this, he said. You'll see my name in lights, Valerie. And you'll be sitting here alone in your sad little apartment, counting your pennies. He slammed the door behind him. I locked it. Then I slid down against the wood and cried. Not because I lost him, good riddance, but because of the time I lost. 8 years. 8 years for a man who spat on my floor and called me hardened for asking for basic respect. I thought that was the end of it. I thought he was gone. But I was wrong. The nightmare wasn't over. He had one final act of cruelty left before he moved out completely. And that act would reveal the darkest secret of our entire relationship. This is where the story gets truly twisted. Because what I heard the next day changed everything. And it is the reason I accepted that wedding invitation. The morning after Travis's drunken confession was, ironically, quiet. The sun streamed through the blinds as if my world hadn't just imploded. Travis was gone. He had fled to his rich princess the night before, leaving behind the stench of whiskey and the echo of his insults. I didn't go to work. I couldn't. I called in sick, something I never did, and spent the morning pacing my apartment. I felt like a ghost in my own home. Every corner held a memory that was now tainted. The couch where we watched movies? That's where he sat while texting Kylie. The kitchen where I cooked thousands of meals? That's where he told me I wasn't woman enough for him. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Travis. No apology. No, I was drunk, I didn't mean it. Just a text. Coming by at 6 p.m. to get the rest of my stuff. I'm moving out officially. Please have the boxes ready. Have the boxes ready. As if I were his moving company. I didn't reply. I didn't pack a single thing for him. If he wanted to leave, he could pack his own lies. He arrived at 6:05 p.m. He looked fresh, showered, and annoyingly arrogant. He wasn't hungover, he was energized. He walked into the apartment not with shame, but with a swagger I hadn't seen in years. It was the swagger of a man who had secured a golden parachute. You didn't pack anything, he noted, looking at the empty living room. I'm not your maid, Travis, I said, sitting on the armchair, sipping tea. I was determined to be ice cold. You have 2 hours. Anything left after that goes in the dumpster. He chuckled, shaking his head. Still so bitter. You know, Kylie asked me today why I stayed with you so long. She couldn't believe I lived in this environment. He gestured around my clean, beautiful apartment like it was a prison cell. It's a 2-bedroom apartment in a nice complex, Travis. It's not a dungeon. Compared to the Sterling estate, it's a shoebox, he sneered. But you wouldn't understand that kind of lifestyle. You're happy with mediocrity. He started throwing his clothes into garbage bags. He didn't even bother folding them. He was frantic to erase me from his life. As he packed, he couldn't stop talking. It was like he needed to justify his betrayal by villainizing me. You know, my mom is so happy, he said, tossing his sneakers into a bag. She cried when I told her about Kylie. She said, finally, a girl who knows how to treat a man. Kylie is taking her shopping next week. To Nordstrom. Not the outlet mall where you shop. I gripped my mug tighter. I'm glad Brenda is happy. Maybe Kylie can buy her some manners. Travis spun around, his face reddening. Don't be jealous, Val. It's ugly. Just accept that we weren't a match. I need someone who supports my dreams, not someone who counts pennies. Your dreams? I laughed, a harsh, dry sound. Your dream is to be a parasite, Travis. You just found a bigger host. He dropped the bag and took a step toward me. For a second, I thought he might hit me. His eyes were cold, dead. Watch your mouth, he hissed. You have no idea what I'm capable of. I'm going to be a VP at Sterling Construction. Kylie's dad loves me. I'm going to run the city while you're still sitting here filling out spreadsheets. Good luck with that, I said, not flinching. Does her dad know you have a credit score of $540,000 in student loans? He froze. A flicker of panic crossed his face, but he masked it quickly. My past doesn't matter. My future is set. And by the way, I'm bringing someone tomorrow to help me with the furniture. The heavy stuff. Who? Kylie, he smirked. She wants to see where I lived. She wants to see you. I felt a cold shiver down my spine. Why? Curiosity, I guess. She wants to see the woman who held me back for so long. So, try to look decent, okay? Don't wear those sweatpants. He grabbed his bags and walked to the door. Before he left, he turned back. Oh, and Val? Don't try to warn her or anything. She knows everything about us. She knows you were controlling. She knows you were abusive. If you try to talk to her, you'll just look like the crazy ex-girlfriend I told her you were. He slammed the door. I sat there for a long time, the silence ringing in my ears. He had rewritten our history. To him, and to this new girl, I was the villain. I was the abuser. He had taken my kindness, my financial support, my patience, and twisted it into a narrative of control. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But instead, I stood up and walked to the mirror. I looked at myself. I looked tired. My eyes were puffy. I was wearing old sweatpants. Okay, I whispered to my reflection. He wants you to look decent? I'll give him decent. I didn't know it then, but that visit the next day, the tour, would be the final straw. It would be the moment I stopped being sad and started getting dangerous. Because what happened when he brought Kylie into my home wasn't just rude, it was a revelation that shattered my entire reality. The next evening, I was ready. I wasn't wearing sweatpants. I was wearing my best tailored trousers and a silk blouse. I had done my hair. I looked like the senior financial analyst I was, not the sad ex Travis wanted me to be. At 7 p.m., a sleek white Range Rover pulled up to the curb. I watched through the blinds. Travis hopped out of the passenger seat, of course, he wasn't driving, it was her car, and ran around to open the door for her. Kylie stepped out. She was stunning. I have to admit that. She looked like she had walked out of an Instagram filter. Blonde extensions, perfect tan, designer bag, tiny waist. She looked expensive. And young. Painfully young. She was 24, but she had the air of someone who had never been told no in her entire life. They walked up the path to my door. I heard Travis laughing, a loud, fake laugh I had never heard before. I opened the door before they could knock. Welcome, I said, my voice steady. Travis blinked, surprised by my appearance. He was expecting a mess. But Kylie didn't even look at me. She pushed past me into the living room as if I were the doorman. Oh wow, she said, her voice high and nasal. She wrinkled her nose as she looked around my clean, tastefully decorated living room. Travy, baby, you were right. It is small. Travy? I almost choked. I know, babe, Travis said, following her like a puppy. It was cramped. But I made do. I didn't want to complain. Kylie turned in a slow circle, her eyes scanning my furniture with open disdain. Is this IKEA? My dad says particle board releases toxins. No wonder you always had headaches living here. She finally looked at me. Her eyes were blue and icy, filled with a terrifying mix of pity and arrogance. So, you're Valerie, she said. She didn't offer a hand. She looked me up and down. You look older than I thought. I'm 30, I said coldly. And this is West Elm, not IKEA. Same thing, she waved a hand, her bracelets jingling. Anyway, we're just here for the dresser. Travis said he bought it. He didn't, I corrected. I bought it. But he can have it. I don't want anything in this house that reminds me of him. Feisty, Kylie giggled, looking at Travis. You said she was feisty. I thought you meant, like, fun feisty. But she's just bitter feisty. Travis wrapped an arm around her waist, squeezing her tight. Don't waste your breath on her, princess. She's just jealous. Look at you, then look at her. There's no contest. I stood there, watching this display in my own living room. It was surreal. They were treating me like an NPC in their video game, an obstacle to be mocked. Just get the dresser and get out, I said, turning toward the kitchen. I have work to do. Work, 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 Travis mocked behind my back. That's all she does, Kentucky. She's married to her spreadsheets. No passion. I went into the kitchen to drink water, my hands trembling with rage. I could hear them in the bedroom. They were making noise, loud, performative groans as they tried to move the heavy dresser. Then, the noise stopped. They must have taken a break. I was about to walk out and yell at them to hurry up when I heard my name. She really has no idea, does she? Kylie's voice drifted down the hallway. It was lower now, conspiratorial. No clue, Travis laughed. She thinks I was broke the whole time. God, it was so hard keeping a straight face when she was lecturing me about the rent. I froze. I put the glass down on the counter silently. I crept closer to the hallway, pressing my back against the wall. You're so bad, Kylie giggled. So, wait, how much did you save? Over the last 3 years? Since she started paying 80% of everything and I stopped paying my loans? Travis paused, and I could hear the smirk in his voice. About 40 grand. Plus the bonuses I hid from her. My breath hitched. $40,000. He told me he was drowning in debt. He told me he couldn't afford $400 for rent. That's impressive, babe, Kylie cooed. And you used her money to buy my bracelet? Of course, Travis bragged. That Pandora bracelet? Paid for by Valerie's rent subsidy. The hotel we stayed at in Miami last month when I told her I was at a conference? Valerie's money. She literally funded our affair. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The world spun. He hadn't just been lazy. He hadn't just been a mooch. He had been stealing from me. He had been hoarding money while watching me stress over bills, watching me work late nights, watching me sacrifice my own luxuries to support him. He wasn't incompetent. He was a con artist. She's such a sucker, Travis continued. She was so desperate for love, she would have paid for anything. I played the sad boy with debt card, and she ate it up. Honest to God, Kai, if you hadn't come along, I probably would have milked her for another 5 years. Maybe got her to buy me a car. Well, you don't need her anymore, Kylie said. My dad is going to buy you a Porsche when we get married. He promised. I know, Travis sighed contentedly. Finally. A life I deserve. I slid down the wall, my hand over my mouth to stifle a sob. Not a sob of sadness, a sob of pure shock. The deception was so deep, so calculated. He had been laughing at me every single day. Every time I paid the electric bill, he was laughing. Every time I cooked him dinner because he was tired, he was laughing. I heard them start moving the dresser again. I scrambled up and ran quietly back to the kitchen, splashing water on my face. When they dragged the dresser out 5 minutes later, I was leaning against the counter, scrolling on my phone. I looked calm. But inside? Inside, I was a nuclear reactor melting down. We're leaving, Travis announced, panting. Finally free of this place. Bye, Valerie, Kylie smirked. Good luck with your spreadsheets. I looked up. I looked straight at Travis. He expected anger. He expected tears. But I gave him a smile. A terrifyingly calm smile. "Goodbye, Travis," I said softly. "Enjoy your Porsche." He frowned, confused by my tone, but Kylie pulled him out the door. As the Range Rover drove away, I didn't cry. I walked to my laptop. I opened a new spreadsheet. But this wasn't for work. This was a list. A list of everything Travis had ever told me, every lie, every transaction. He thought he had won. He thought he had escaped with his 40 grand and his rich fiancée. But he had made one fatal mistake. He had confessed his crimes within earshot of a senior financial analyst who knew how to follow a paper trail. And now, 8 weeks later, with this wedding invitation in my hand, I knew exactly what to do. Let's jump back to the present moment. Me, the glass of wine, and the invitation. The realization that Travis had systematically defrauded me for years was the fuel I needed. But rage without a plan is just a tantrum. I needed leverage. I needed to blow up his life as thoroughly as he had exploited mine. I RSVP'd yes on the wedding website. I added a +1 to my guest count. Then, I went to work. My first stop was social media. Travis had blocked me, obviously, but Kylie's profile was public. Of course it was. She was an influencer with 50,000 followers. Her feed was a goldmine. I scrolled back. Way back. I saw the photo of the Pandora bracelet. Caption: "My baby spoils me." #TrueLove #he worked so hard for this. Posted 3 months before we broke up. I saw the photos from Miami. Caption: "Secret getaway with my soulmate." The date matched the weekend Travis told me he was at a regional sales conference in Ohio. I remembered that weekend. I had driven him to the airport. I had packed his bag. I had put a love note in his suitcase. I screenshotted everything. But I needed something bigger. I needed to know about her. Who was Kylie Sterling? I dug into her tagged photos. And that's when I saw him. In photos from 6 months ago, right around the time Travis started acting distant, there was another man in Kylie's life. A handsome guy. Tall, broad shoulders, kind eyes. He was in almost every photo with her for 2 years. "Happy anniversary to my rock." One caption read, "Future hubby." Another said, his name was tagged, Jared. I clicked on Jared's profile. It was private. But his bio said, architect. Dog dad. Denver. I went back to Kylie's feed to find the breakup point. It was abrupt. One day, she's posting about Jared. The next week, silence. Then, 2 weeks later, the first soft launch photo of Travis's hand. I recognized his watch, the one I bought him. The timeline was clear. Travis had overlapped with Jared. Kylie had cheated on Jared with Travis. Travis had told me Kylie was begging him to leave me. He probably told Kylie a pack of lies about Jared too. I needed to talk to Jared. I found him on LinkedIn. Jared Miller. Architect at a reputable firm downtown. He looked professional, serious. Not the type of guy who engages in drama. But I had to try. I sent him a message. "Hi Jared. You don't know me, but I think we have something in common. My name is Valerie. I was Travis's girlfriend for 8 years, up until 2 months ago. I'm holding a wedding invitation for Travis and Kylie. I have reason to believe their relationship started while you were still with Kylie, and while I was still with Travis. I'm not looking for drama, but I am looking for closure. And maybe, justice. If you're willing to talk, please let me know." I hit send and held my breath. It was a long shot. Most guys would delete it. Most guys would want to move on. 2 hours later, my phone pinged. Meet me at the Grind Coffee House tomorrow at 10 a.m. My heart raced. I spent the rest of the night compiling my dossier. I printed the bank statements I still had access to. Since Travis was too lazy to remove his name from our joint utility account, I could see his transfer history linked to it. I printed the screenshots. I made a timeline. The next morning, I walked into the coffee shop. I recognized Jared immediately. He looked even better in person than in photos, though he looked tired. He had the weary look of a man who had been through the ringer. He stood up when I approached. Valerie? Hi, Jared, I said, shaking his hand. His grip was firm. Thank you for meeting me. Your message was intriguing, he said, gesturing for me to sit. I assumed Kylie cheated. But I didn't know about you. Travis told Kylie you were his crazy landlord who was obsessed with him. I laughed out loud. His landlord? That's a new one. I mean, technically I was, since I paid the rent, but we were together for 8 years. Jared's eyes widened. 8 years? He told Kylie you guys dated for a month in college and you've been stalking him ever since. He lived with me until 8 weeks ago, I said, pulling out my folder. Here. I slid the photos across the table. The Miami trip. The bracelet. The dates. Jared looked through them, his jaw tightening. He stopped at the Miami photo. I remember this weekend, he said quietly. Kylie told me she was going to a wellness retreat with her girlfriends. I drove her to the airport. I bought her a first-class upgrade as a surprise. And I drove Travis to the airport for his conference, I added. We both paid for them to cheat on us. Jared looked up at me. The sadness in his eyes was replaced by a simmering anger. I proposed to her the week after she got back from Miami. She said yes. Then 2 days later, she broke it off. Said she met her soulmate and that I was too boring for her. Travis told me I was too boring too, I said. Because I work in finance and don't have a trust fund. Travis is a fraud, Jared said, tapping the table. He's been telling everyone in town he's a wealthy entrepreneur. He told Kylie's dad he runs a hedge fund. He's a sales rep, I corrected. And he's unemployed as of last week, according to his LinkedIn. He's living off the money he stole from me and Kylie's allowance. Jared leaned back, running a hand through his hair. So, what's the plan? Why did you reach out? He invited me to the wedding, I said, sliding the invitation across the table. To mock me. To show off. He thinks I'm going to come alone and cry in the corner. I looked Jared dead in the eye. I don't want to go alone. I want to bring a plus one. Someone who knows the truth. Someone whose presence will shatter the lies he's told Kylie and her family. Jared stared at the invitation. I could see the wheels turning. He was a nice guy. I could tell. He wasn't vindictive by nature. But everyone has a breaking point. You want me to crash my ex-fiancée's wedding with her new fiancée's ex-girlfriend? He asked slowly. I want us to attend as guests, I corrected with a smile. We have an invitation. And I have a file here. I tapped the thick folder that proves Travis has lied about his finances, his job, and his past. I think Kylie's father, Mr. Sterling, might be interested in seeing a credit report that shows Travis has $40,000 in defaulted loans, not a hedge fund. Jared looked at the folder. Then he looked at the invitation. Then he looked at me. A slow smile spread across his face. It wasn't a nice smile. It was a smile of justice. Mr. Sterling is a stickler for financial transparency, Jared said. He hated me because I'm an architect, not a banker. If he knew he was marrying his daughter off to a broke con artist. Exactly, I said. Jared picked up his coffee cup and toasted me. What time should I pick you up? The week leading up to the wedding was a blur of calculated preparation. Jared and I met 3 more times. We weren't just plotting, we were bonding. We discovered that we were frighteningly similar. We were the givers in our previous relationships. We were the ones who planned, who saved, who supported. And we had both been discarded for being boring by 2 chaotic narcissists who craved constant validation. Jared told me more about Kylie. She wasn't inherently evil, he said, just incredibly spoiled and easily manipulated. She had grown up surrounded by yes men. Travis had swooped in and mirrored her desires perfectly. He told her exactly what she wanted to hear, Jared explained over dinner one night. That she was a star, that she deserved the world. I was the one telling her to finish college and maybe stop spending $5,000 a month on handbags. I was the buzzkill. I was the nag, I nodded, sipping my wine. Because I asked him to take out the trash. We're better off, Jared said, looking at me with a warmth that made my stomach flutter. But they still need to be stopped. Travis is going to drain her family dry. We're doing a public service, I agreed. The day of the wedding arrived. It was a perfect Saturday in June. The venue was the Grand Hotel, the most expensive, ostentatious venue in the city. Of course it was. I put on a dress I had bought specifically for this moment. It was a deep emerald green, silk, floor-length, with a slit up the leg. It was bold. It was confident. It was the opposite of the sad, frumpy ex-Travis expected. Jared arrived at my door in a tuxedo that fit him perfectly. When I opened the door, his jaw literally dropped. Wow, he said. Valerie, you look dangerous. That's the point, I smirked. You clean up nice yourself, Mr. Miller. We drove to the venue in Jared's car, a sensible but stylish Audi, unlike the least flashiness Travis preferred. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. I had the folder in my purse. The ceremony was in the hotel's garden. It was dripping with white roses and crystals. It smelled like money. We arrived just as the guests were being seated. We walked in arm. Heads turned. I held my head high. I saw people whispering. Some recognized Jared. Isn't that Kylie's ex? Who is that woman with him? Oh my God, is that the guy she dumped? We ignored them and found our seats. I had RSVP'd, so there was a place card for me. Valerie plus guest. We were seated at table 19, way in the back, near the kitchen doors. Travis had put me in the shame corner. We sat down. From our vantage point, we could see everything. We saw Travis standing at the altar. He was wearing a white tuxedo. He looked ridiculous, like a plastic cake topper. He was sweating. When he scanned the crowd, his eyes landed on us. I saw the moment he registered my face. He sneered, ready to gloat. Then, his eyes slid to the man next to me. He froze. His mouth actually fell open. He grabbed his best man's arm. He looked like he was about to faint. I raised my hand and gave him a tiny, polite wave. Jared just stared at him, calm and unblinking. Travis started to step off the altar. He was coming toward us. He looked panicked. He was going to cause a scene before the bride even arrived. Here he comes, Jared whispered. Let him come, I said. Travis practically ran down the aisle, ignoring the confused looks of the guests. He reached our table, his face a mask of purple rage. What is this? He hissed, leaning over the table. What are you doing here? And why is he here? I invited him, I smiled sweetly. The invite said +1. Jared was free. You can't bring him. Travis sputtered, keeping his voice low so the front rows wouldn't hear. He's the bride's ex-fiancé. Are you insane? And I'm the groom's ex-girlfriend, I pointed out. We're a match set, Travis. We're here to support you. To witness your grand life. Get out, Travis demanded. Both of you. Now. Before Kylie sees him. If we leave, Jared said, speaking for the first time, his voice deep and authoritative, we go straight to Mr. Sterling with this. He tapped my purse, where the folder was visible. Travis's eyes darted to the purse. What is that? It's a collection of your greatest hits, Travis, I said. Bank statements. Loan defaults. The receipts from the bracelet you bought Kylie with my money. The proof that you don't run a hedge fund. Travis went pale. You wouldn't. Try us, Jared said. Go back to the altar, Travis. Marry the girl. But know that we are watching. And one wrong move, one lie, and daddy-in-law gets some reading material. The music started. The bridal chorus. Go, I commanded. Your bride is coming. Travis looked at us with pure hatred, then turned and scurried back to the altar just as the doors opened. Kylie walked in. She looked beautiful, I'll give her that. But as she walked down the aisle, her eyes scanned the crowd. She was looking for admiration. Then, she saw us. She stopped. Literally stopped walking halfway down the aisle. She saw Jared. Her eyes widened. She looked from Jared to Travis, then back to Jared. I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Regret? Shock? Her father, Mr. Sterling, nudged her. She shook her head and kept walking, but the smile was gone. She looked terrified. The ceremony was excruciating. Travis fumbled his vows. Kylie looked like she was going to be sick. When the priest asked if anyone had any objections, I saw Travis stare at me, pleading with his eyes. I didn't stand up. I just smiled. I wasn't going to stop the wedding. I was going to let him dig his grave a little deeper. The real fireworks were saved for the reception. The reception was held in the grand ballroom. It was an affair of obscene wealth. Ice sculptures, a 10-tier cake, a live orchestra. It was everything Travis had ever wanted. He was circulating the room, shaking hands, playing the part of the successful groom. But every few seconds, his eyes would dart to table 19. Jared and I were enjoying ourselves. The food was excellent. We danced, yes, we danced to a slow song. It felt right. Jared was a good dancer. You realize he's watching us like a hawk, Jared murmured in my ear. Let him watch, I said. He wanted an audience. Kylie had changed into a second dress. She was avoiding our side of the room entirely. But eventually, the speeches began. The best man gave a drunken, awkward speech. Then, Mr. Sterling took the microphone. Mr. Sterling was a formidable man. He looked like a bulldog in a tuxedo. He clearly adored his daughter, but his speech was interesting. I admit, Mr. Sterling boomed, I was skeptical of Travis at first. A hedge fund manager who came out of nowhere. But Kylie insisted he was a financial genius. And today, I welcome him to the family business. I looked at Jared. Now? Now, Jared said. We stood up. We didn't make a scene. We simply walked toward the head table. We weren't going to Travis or Kylie. We were going to Mr. Sterling, who had just sat down. Travis saw us moving. He knocked over his champagne glass. No, he mouthed. Mr. Sterling looked up as we approached. He recognized Jared immediately. His face hardened. Jared, Mr. Sterling grunted. You have some nerve showing up here. Hello, sir, Jared said respectfully. I know I'm not welcome. But I didn't come to cause trouble. I came because there is something you need to see before you sign over any company assets to your new son-in-law. Security! Travis yelled, jumping up from his chair. Get them out! The room went silent. The band stopped playing. What is this? Kylie asked, her voice trembling. She looked at Jared, tears welling up. Jared, why are you doing this? I'm doing this because you're being conned, Kai, Jared said softly. He looked at her with genuine sadness. And I can't let you marry a fraud. I stepped forward and placed the folder on the table in front of Mr. Sterling. My name is Valerie, I announced, my voice clear and projecting to the silent room. I am Travis's ex-girlfriend. We broke up 2 months ago. We lived together for 8 years. Gasps rippled through the room. Travis told you I was his landlord, I continued, looking straight at Mr. Sterling. He told you he runs a hedge fund. The documents in that folder prove that for the last 8 years, he has been an unemployed sales rep living off my salary. He has $40,000 in defaulted student loans. He has 3 maxed out credit cards. And the investments he told you about? They don't exist. Liar! Travis screamed. His face was purple. She's a crazy stalker. Don't listen to her. Mr. Sterling didn't look at Travis. He opened the folder. He put on his reading glasses. The silence in the room was heavy, suffocating. All you could hear was the rustle of paper as Mr. Sterling flipped through the bank statements, the screenshots, the credit reports. He stopped at a page. He looked at Travis. Then he looked at the page again. Travis, Mr. Sterling said. His voice was terrifyingly quiet. Why is there a transfer here from a Valerie Miller to your account for $2,000 titled rent and utilities dated last month? She owed me money. Travis stammered. It was a loan repayment. And why, Mr. Sterling continued, flipping a page, is there a receipt here for a Pandora bracelet, the one my daughter is wearing right now, paid for with a credit card in Valerie's name? Kylie gasped. She looked down at her wrist. She ripped the bracelet off as if it burned her. Travis? Kylie whispered. You said you bought this with your bonus. I did. I transferred the money. It's complicated. Travis was sweating profusely now. And finally, Mr. Sterling stood up, his face red with fury. Why does this credit report say you are currently employed as a junior sales associate at Miller Construction Supplies, with a salary of $45,000 a year? You told me you managed a $10 million portfolio. I was going to. Travis pleaded. I have potential. I just needed a start. Mr. Sterling threw the folder at Travis. Papers flew everywhere, raining down like confetti of shame. You lied to me, Mr. Sterling roared. You lied to my daughter. You came into my house, ate my food, drove my cars, and you are nothing but a penniless grifter. Brenda! Travis yelled, looking for his mother. Tell them. Tell them I'm successful. We all looked at Brenda. She was sitting at the mother of the groom table, looking small and terrified. She stood up, clutching her pearls. He is a good boy. Brenda wailed. He just needs a chance. You people have so much money, why can't you share? Why are you so greedy? It was the final nail in the coffin. Kylie stood up. She looked at Travis, really looked at him, for the first time without the rose-colored glasses. She saw the sweat, the desperation, the lies. Then she looked at Jared. Jared was standing tall, honest, holding nothing back. Kylie made a sound that was half sob, half scream. She grabbed the wedding cake, the bottom tier of the 10-tier masterpiece, and shoved it off the table. It crashed to the floor with a deafening thud. "Get out!" Kylie screamed at Travis. "Get out of my life. I hate you." Travis tried to grab her hand. "Baby, please. We're married. It's done." "It's not done," Mr. Sterling barked. "I haven't signed the marriage license yet. It's sitting in my office. This marriage is a sham." Travis looked around the room. Hundreds of eyes were staring at him with disgust. He looked at me. I was standing next to Jared, my arms crossed, a small smile on my face. He realized then that he had invited his own executioner. "If you're still listening," I whispered to the camera in my mind, "please like this video and comment one below. Because what happened next, you are not going to believe what happened next." The chaos that followed was absolute. It was beautiful. Security guards, big men in dark suits, descended on Travis. He tried to resist, screaming that he was the groom, that he had rights. They dragged him out of the ballroom, his white tuxedo stained with cake frosting, his feet dragging on the marble floor. Brenda ran after him, swatting at the guards with her purse, wailing like a banshee. "My boy! Leave him alone! You monsters!" The guests were stunned into silence. Then, slowly, the murmurs began. The illusion was shattered. Kylie collapsed into her chair, burying her face in her hands. Her father was barking orders into his phone, presumably calling his lawyers to annul whatever legal threads existed and to ensure Travis never got near his assets. Jared looked at me. "We should go." "Agreed," I said. We turned to leave, but a hand caught Jared's arm. It was Kylie. She had run over to us, her mascara running down her face. "Jared," she sobbed. "Jared, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. He told me you were the one who cheated. He told me he was saving me." Jared looked at her. He didn't pull away, but he didn't hug her either. "I know, Kentucky. He's a manipulator. But you believed him. You didn't ask me. You just left." "I was stupid," she cried. "I was so stupid. Please, can we talk?" "Not today," Jared said gently. "Focus on yourself. Focus on getting away from him. We can talk later." We walked out of the hotel and into the cool night air. The valet brought Jared's car around. As we drove away, leaving the ruins of the grand life behind us, I started to laugh. It started as a giggle, then turned into a full-blown belly laugh. Jared started laughing too. We laughed until tears ran down our faces. "Did you see his face?" I gasped. "When the cake fell? Did you see Brenda hitting the security guard?" Jared wiped his eyes. "We did it," I said, leaning back in the seat. "We actually did it." "He got exactly what he deserved," Jared agreed. He reached over and squeezed my hand. "Thank you, Valerie. For finding me. For making me do this. Thank you for being the best +1 in history," I smiled. We went to a diner, a cheap, 24-hour diner, and ate burgers and fries in our formal wear. It was the best meal I had ever eaten. You might think that was the end. But men like Travis don't just disappear. They rage. 3 days after the wedding, I was at home. I had taken the day off to decompress. I was finally feeling safe, finally feeling like the chapter was closed. Then, at 2 p.m., a pounding started on my front door. It was so violent the frame shook. "Valerie! Open this door. I know you're in there." It was Travis. I didn't open the door. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. He looked deranged. His clothes were rumpled, the same clothes he wore the day he moved out? No, just old clothes. He hadn't shaved. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. You ruined my life, he screamed, kicking the door. You jealous witch. You took everything from me. I pressed the intercom button on my phone. Travis, I said, my voice projecting through the doorbell speaker. Go away. I'm calling the police. Call them, he yelled at the camera. I don't care. You slandered me. I lost my job. Mr. Sterling called my boss and told him I falsified my resume. I'm fired, Valerie. Are you happy? Yes, I said honestly. I am happy. You lied on your resume just like you lied to me. I was going to pay you back, he screamed, spit flying. Once I got access to the Sterling Trust Fund, I was going to pay everyone back. It was an investment. You were supposed to be my partner. I was your partner, I said. And you stole from me. You mocked me. You invited me to your wedding to humiliate me. You did this to yourself, Travis. I'm going to sue you, he threatened, pacing on my porch. I'm going to sue you for defamation. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, I replied calmly. I have the receipts. Do you want me to post them online? Or do you want to leave? He stopped pacing. He looked at the camera, his eyes wild with desperation. Then, the anger crumbled into pathetic begging. Val, please, he sobbed, leaning his forehead against the door. I have nowhere to go. My mom's house is too small. I have no car, Kylie took the Rover back. I have no money. Can I sleep on your couch? Just for a week? Please. For old time's sake. The audacity was truly limitless. After everything, he still thought he could use me. He still thought I was the safety net. No, I said. Go home to your mother, Travis. She's the only one who buys your act. You heartless be asterisk, he screamed, hitting the door one last time. Then, I heard sirens. A neighbor must have called. Travis heard them too. He looked panicked. He turned and ran across the lawn, disappearing down the street like a rat fleeing a sinking ship. I saved the video footage. Just in case. It's been a month since the wedding disaster. Things have settled down, but the updates are still satisfying. Jared and I have stayed in touch. We talk almost every day. He told me that Kylie did eventually reach out to him properly. They met for coffee. She apologized profusely. She told him that Travis had isolated her, telling her that all her friends were jealous and that her family was controlling. It was the same playbook he used on me, just accelerated. Kylie is in therapy now. She's not getting back together with Jared. Jared is too smart for that, and honestly, I think he realizes they were at different life stages, but they are on good terms. As for Travis? Word gets around in a small city. I heard from a mutual friend that Travis is living in Brenda's basement again. He filed for bankruptcy last week. Mr. Sterling is reportedly suing him for the cost of the wedding and for emotional distress inflicted on Kylie. That dossier I compiled? It's Exhibit A in the lawsuit. Travis tried to get a job at another sales firm, but his reputation is mud. He's working part-time at a car wash. I drove past it the other day, just to check. I saw him wiping down a Honda Civic, looking miserable. I didn't stop. I didn't gloat. I just kept driving. And me? I'm doing amazing. I got another raise at work. My house is peaceful. My bank account is growing because I'm not supporting a deadbeat. But the best part? Jared asked me out to dinner last night. Not as a co-conspirator. Not as a trauma-bonding buddy. But as a date. We went to an Italian place. We laughed. We didn't talk about Travis or Kylie once. We talked about architecture. We talked about finance. We talked about the future. When he dropped me off, he kissed me on the cheek. It was sweet. It was respectful. It was everything I hadn't had in 8 years. I don't know where it will go with Jared. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere great. But for the first time in a long time, I'm not worried. I know my worth now. I know that I am not a stepping stone for someone else's life. I am the main character of my own story. So, to anyone listening who feels stuck, who feels used, who feels like they are giving everything and getting nothing, look at the trash. If it smells, take it out. Don't wait for him to do it. Take it out yourself, change the locks, and never look back. And if your ex invites you to his wedding to mock you? Go. But bring the receipts. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, ladies. And so, as the dust settles, this story leaves us with a profound reminder: self-worth is not something we wait for others to recognize, it's something we must claim for ourselves. Valerie's journey is a testament to the power of boundaries, resilience, and the courage to walk away from what no longer serves us. It's easy to lose ourselves in the name of love or loyalty, but true strength lies in knowing when to say enough and reclaiming the narrative of our lives. This isn't just a story of revenge, it's a story of transformation. It teaches us that even in the face of betrayal, we can rise, not out of spite, but for the sake of our own growth and dignity. It shows us that the best way to heal is to focus forward, to invest in ourselves, and to surround ourselves with people who value us for who we are, not what we can provide. What about you? Have you ever had to rebuild yourself after a difficult chapter? Share your thoughts below, or simply comment good if this story resonated with you. Let's celebrate the strength it takes to turn pain into power and create a life we truly deserve.